get going here. No, I think everybody heard me. I think we're good. First order of business for tonight is the roll call. So go ahead and call the roll, please.
Mr. Zollinger?
Here.
Mr. Stocker?
Here.
Mr. McGinnis?
Here.
Mr. Lamiel? Ms. Clevenger?
Here.
Okay, 4 out of the 5 members are present. That means we have a quorum. Just be aware, you still need a majority of the board to pass anything. And I guess with 4 people, that means 3. You know, we need 3 people to agree on a motion for anything to pass. That would mean only 1 dissent. With that, then the next item is the minutes for consideration. Our last meeting was June 5th, 2025. Those minutes were provided to us before this meeting this evening to review. So I would entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
A motion to approve.
All right, and a second?
I'll second.
All right, we'll call the roll for that.
Ms. Clevenger?
Abstain.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Mr. Stocker?
Yes.
Mr. Zollinger?
Yes. So 3 to 0 to 1 abstention, the minutes are adopted. And with that, the next item is the only variance request we have this evening. Why don't you go ahead and, for the records, call out what that request is.
Yep. Application ZBOA-25-5, Madison Lyer 336 Portage Street Northwest. A variance requesting relief from section 1153.02 B1 requiring 2 enclosed parking spaces and allow the existing detached structure to be used as a home office.
Okay, thank you. We aren't putting anybody under oath anymore, right? We're not doing that with these meetings, is that correct? We were doing that, I couldn't remember. We were doing that for a while, we're not doing that. Right?
Oh, we have the court reporter.
Okay, so we just have, these meetings are just being recorded.
Yeah.
Okay,
I would
so-
still, excuse me if I could interject, I would still recommend putting anyone testifying under oath.
Okay, I guess I could administer that since I'm an attorney. So what I would do is anyone who even thinks they might speak tonight, if you could stand up and raise your right hand. If you can't stand, you can just raise your right hand for me. Do all of you solemnly swear to tell the truth and the whole truth and if you testify tonight?
Yes.
All right, thank you. You can be seated. These meetings are being recorded by a recorder. We used to have a court reporter do these, but now we just have them recorded. So what's going to happen is we're going to have everybody who wants to speak. We'll have anyone in favor of the application speak first, starting with the applicant. When you get up to speak, you go to the podium, say your name and your address, just for the record. You'll get a chance to speak your piece. There may be questions. I like to ask a lot of questions of people. So it's important that we not talk over one another. I'll ask a question, have every opportunity to answer that question if there is one. The other thing is avoid answering any questions with nodding or shaking of the head. Make sure you give your answers verbally. Yes, no, I don't know, or an explanation. That makes it that way because it's hard for with a recording to know what the response is. This is an adjudicatory proceeding. It's public, it's open to the public, but this is more like a court proceeding than it is just a public speaks situation. So we're only going to talk about what's relevant tonight. If I find that we're getting off topic, I'll try to steer the discussion. With that, I try to keep things open and let people talk and keep it as conversational as possible. So with that, I'll let the applicant get up and speak first, or whoever wants to speak in favor of the application to get up and speak first. And you go to the podium if you can, please. And you, again, just state your full name and address for the record.
Okay. Everybody. I'm Madison Lyer. My address is 336 Portage Street, Northwest, North Canton, obviously, so the home that we're talking about. And I guess the gist of it is I've been working with Ben, not to mention the name we call you out over the last handful of months, figuring out, I guess I'm a first-time home buyer, so I don't know anything about zoning or appeals and permits and this whole process, so he's been helping me out and giving me some education. And there is a detached structure behind my home, 208 Boyer, it's a separate address. And I have been wanting to use that as a home office. So the question mark has been, all right, there are barn doors that have been added to it. I know as recent as 2019, it was sided. It was its own building, so I don't know when the barn doors were put on. When I purchased it, they were there. And I'm wondering if I can get the appeal from a covered parking space in order to use that structure as a home office. I have some numbers mapped out. I can go into as much detail as wanted. I know I put a lot on that application, but ultimately it's not used as a parking space right now. My car does not actually fit in there. I know the North Canton City Code defines the parking space as, I believe, 9 feet by 18 feet. My opening is about 7.5 feet. The depth of it, do you remember?
I don't offhand.
I can look it up on my computer, but my little Honda Civic does not functionally work in there as a garage. So right now it's been storing my mower. So it's about 220 square feet, give or take, that's going to my mower. So I'm hoping to be able to use it as a home office instead.
Okay, yeah, so this building has water going to it and electric.
Yep. Has a bathroom, kitchen, everything.
And you live at this address full-time,
Yes.
and you intend to use this as your office? Okay. No one else is gonna live there or in the house?
This moment in time, I'm single.
Okay,
But I don't know what that would look like. I have a friend that crashed with me for a couple weeks. I don't know if that's kind
no,
of.
I guess what I mean is there's no other families that are gonna live in the house or this structure at any point?
No.
Okay,
In the second structure.
in the second structure?
No.
Or-
My understanding is that per zoning regulations, it's a single family dwelling,
Yeah.
and that's what it would remain.
Yeah, the reason I'm asking is I guess in the past, the prior owner had, or some prior owner had multiple families living there at some point, and there were stairs going up to the second floor.
I saw that,
That's
yeah.
been removed, and
Yep.
your intention is to keep this as a single family home?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Both buildings would be one single family dwelling.
And both, I know this building has a different address, but it's all on the same parcel, correct? Same,
At this point, yes. Again, I don't know what that looked like in the past, because the home, the main building, 336 Portage, has a really weird layout, and I know it used to have steps, so it looks like at one point maybe it was 2 units,
yeah,
but now it's one. And then the garage, I think
Yeah.
it was its own building and now is a garage.
when I looked at the Stark County Auditor's website, which shows the real estate and you owning it and everything, 336 Portage and 208 Royer are on the same parcel of property, meaning they are not divided, they're not two different pieces of property right now, even though they
Okay.
have two different addresses, they're the same property. Okay, one issue I've got, I don't have any plans of what are your plans with respect to the structure? Are you just planning on taking out the doors and putting in a wall and keeping everything else as is in there? Or are you doing anything, is that what your plan is?
Yeah.
Okay.
And, yeah, that would really be it, just bring in the wall.
What about the driveway? The ordinance requires our driveways to be paved in the city. Now, obviously, a lot aren't because houses have been grandfathered in, or the old ordinances applied when those houses were built or driveways were put in. But whenever you do an improvement to a property now, you gotta bring it up to what the ordinance requires. So
Okay.
are you intending to do anything with the driveway, the part that is gravel? Is it gonna be paved over or put concrete in or anything like that? Is there any plan to do that?
Tomorrow, I don't have enough money for that.
Yeah.
So, not right now. I guess I'd be curious, Matt, has a question back.
Yeah.
Because the building was its own structure at one point, does that mean that it would need to meet these codes, or is it like this is just kind of, to your words, like grandfathered into what it's always been? I'm sorry.
Yeah, my understanding is, and somebody from the city can correct me, or council can correct me if I'm wrong, but since you're doing an improvement onto that new structure now, things need to be brought up to the current ordinance. And that's why we're here today, because the fact that you want to do something to that separate building, you know, the law requires a 2-car garage.
Yeah.
So you're asking for a variance in the law. So does anybody, am I right in saying that, or?
So the zoning code, as I'm reading it, there's almost lacking a nexus there of the two. Because this parking area is really separate part of the property, I would have a hard time finding that nexus. I mean, that could be something that we address through if we were, you know, the board was inclined to seek an approval, we could entertain some conditions there, as they do seem to be relevant since we're technically relocating parking on that. But the way we've read that zoning code, we might be lacking a nexus. Greg, do you have a different position on that? We have our law director on.
Related to the current, we'll just call it parking spaces that are the current part of the property that utilizes parking spaces.
Yeah.
What's the question related to that?
The part of the parking area is gravel right now. And our ordinance requires driveways to be paved. So if they're gonna improve on a part of the property, do they need to bring that up to code too? Or would they without a variance?
You know, I don't have an answer to that. It's a more complicated question than yes or no, because it doesn't have to do, you know, the zoning code. The short answer is I don't have an answer, but the reason I don't have an answer is the zoning code talks about uses. The state of the parking space, it doesn't necessarily mean a use, right? So, and it's not necessarily a building or a structure. So I don't think a non-conforming analysis would relate to however the current parking spaces are.
Okay, all right. Okay. Does anybody else have any questions?
Clear as mud, typical lawyer, right?
Well, I don't wanna consider it, or if there's any issue about whether she would have to do that or not, I don't wanna, consider it.
So I do have a question, or maybe a couple. The current door opening, according to this, and you said this, is 7 feet. Which is not, according to you, wide enough for your subcompact vehicle?
It does not
It
fit
can't fit,
partially
right.
because also the depth.
And the opening is exactly as it is when you purchased the home? You've not done anything, it's not been widened or?
No.
Okay, so this has been a non-conforming structure for a while, is that correct? I'm sorry, that's more of a legal question. This structure's been non-conforming for a while, prior to Ms. Blyer purchasing it, is that accurate? Okay.
Why don't you go up there and, just say your name and then for the record, who you are, yeah.
I don't want to answer over, but I think there's something
Yeah.
that I might be involved with.
Yeah.
My name is Robert Blyer Jr., I'm Madison's father. Co-owner, co-signer on the loan for the property, so I pretty much know what her goals have been and everything else. One thing that I wanted to ask, when you were talking about the code or the zoning code for requirement for the driveway, in terms of like the lead up to the structure that is now considered a garage, it's literally on the sidewalk. So there is no lead up driveway to that.
If you look on the screen, we're putting it up on Google Maps now, so you can kind of reference.
There's a big concrete right next to the door.
This is a July 2024 capture.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, correct, there, was way better. So yes, that was the door opening, that door opening right there is about 7 feet wide.
Okay.
Plus or minus, I'm not telling you, I went to the
Yeah.
16th on the tape measure, but.
Yeah.
So you can see right there, it is not, has never housed a car. I don't think golf carts are legal on the streets of North Canton, so a golf cart might fit, but I don't think a car is gonna fit in there of any type. And so really, that's what this was all about. It was the ability for her to utilize that structure for a home office, or she is a fitness freak. She works out, she has equipment, barbells. They're not gonna go into that house without risk of coming through the floor. The basement's totally, you know, it's just an ancient basement. So, you know, I've had 3 homes, every one of them I have renovated, fixed up basement, created a home office, a home gym, that type of thing. That can't happen inside the house. This structure fits that need perfectly. And again, she has all the numbers of the square footage and the whole bit. That was the part about the concrete is what I wanted to
Yeah,
talk about.
and I don't know if it matters because of what our legal counsel has said, but what I was talking was that area of gravel right there. If that's part of the driveway, you know, under our current code, if you were building a new house right now, you couldn't do that. You know, it would have to be concrete or asphalt or something similar. But I think that's a non-issue. I'm not gonna consider that based on what I've been told here. Anybody else have any other questions?
As an aside,
Yeah.
what you said about, I don't think this matters, I just want to say it. You go with it, and I recognize to an extent, I can go into that building and do kind of what I want in there. Like I said, it's already got a lot of stuff. Part of the reason for deciding, yeah, I'm gonna spend 200, give or take, bucks to file this and look is, I do want to improve the curb appeal. So this home has had a lot of work done to it, and I have a lot to do as well, but I'd rather have this look pretty. I don't know whose computer has this pulled up, but if you click on the Seymour dates underneath the address there, you can go, and like you can see there in 2011, like I said, at least 2019, it's just like a clean-sided building, and I don't need to do that right now, but part of asking and seeing if this was a possibility was not to shake up everything. I didn't actually know that letters went out, and then had a few neighbors talk to me today, and I got really nervous. But I do, like, I would not be saying I'm never gonna pave that driveway if that was needed. I think it would look a lot nicer that way, honestly, but I just got my work cut out for me, so
Okay.
that's all.
All right. Thanks. Anybody else? Anything? Questions? All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh,
No.
All right. Anybody else want to speak in favor of or against, or I don't, you know, whatever your position is? If anybody else wants to get up and speak, they can go ahead and approach the podium. Just make sure you state your name and everything.
An address.
And address,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, my name is Jolene Gonzalez, and I live at 332 Portage Street. I'm blessed to be Maddie's neighbor. I just want to say thank you all for giving us the opportunity to come together this evening for what I know is an important topic to Maddie and for the rest of the longtime surrounding neighbors. I also want to note that I have absolutely nothing against Maddie. As awkward as it is to have to even speak this evening, I hope that the concerns expressed to the City Zoning Commission tonight are seen as just that. None of us set out to make her life difficult. I truly hope that Maddie understands that. Our concerns come from a cautionary review of how previous failures to consider every aspect of a significant and permanent change to an existing structure can impact a neighborhood not only today but for years to come. Although what I'm about to share may seem somewhat irrelevant to some in attendance regarding this current variant request, I think it may help to expound on the reasons why those who are able to be here on such short notice, with others wishing that they could have been here, made the time to be part of the discussion. For those who may not have solid understanding of what has caused my willingness to speak this evening, I wanted to give a quick historical review of our experience with the property next to us at 336, which kind of goes along with the questions tonight, not knowing like when the door was changed or why the structure was changed from a single floor level, which a normal garage is, to a bi-level, which is pretty much like what it is. There's like a step up. This was shared with Maddie back in November 2024 during one of our enjoyable chats. In 2020, our former neighbor Patty attempted to sell her single-family property and listed it as a 3-unit property. This followed years of her and relatives making changes to the property without seeking permission from zoning or obtaining building permits. After logical review of the impacts to surrounding properties, should she have approached the city for permission prior to carrying out the investment and hard work, those plans would have surely been denied due to the zoning bylaw itself. This would have prevented years of difficulties which greatly impacted us as neighbors. I don't have enough time to explain that right now. We did our best though to be really cordial for years, but felt such tremendous relief when the city upheld zoning rules with regards to the notion of having the property sold. When the previous owner listed the property for sale as the 3-unit dwelling, we along with several other neighbors, both on Portage and Royer, directly impacted, came together and submitted the required petition to the City and Zoning Committee to object. We requested the city to uphold the zoning, which stated the property was a single-family property, the additional dwelling created in the garage, and the former rental set up within the house, which is probably what Maddie's talking about. It looks like the house was divided up. She did that all on her own. So the former setup within the house, along with a large staircase between our houses, were deemed violations per that zoning. Why did we as neighbors step up and stop the sale laced with violations? Since buying our home and our property in 2006, our neighborhood has morphed into a cluster of numerous rentals that pale in comparison to the curb appeal and the overall pleasant neighborhood feeling we once enjoyed. We understand times change and so does society, but as longtime taxpayers on Portage and Royer who are proud homeowners and do their best to keep their properties well kept, we took it upon ourselves to do our best to maintain what was left of the very atmosphere that brought us all here. None of us wanted another rental space, and we're really grateful that the city saw the facts and agreed, forcing the prior owner Patty to uphold the zoning code and return building structures to their original purposes, hence the garage. The city felt those requirements were met, and we trusted that the matter was closed with the garage returned to a non-living space. I would like to quickly highlight an inaccuracy I believe to be true on the application, hinting that this was ever anything but a garage per zoning. I may be wrong, but that's how I read it. We have nothing against someone paying taxes and owning property with which they can be creative with, because we don't believe a city should have extensive overreach of privately owned properties. But there are guidelines and foundational rules in place for good reason. We all have to follow them, and we all have had to alter plans that we've made of our own to ensure that it fell in line with the zoning guidelines. In an effort to refrain from involving ourselves in matters of a neighbor's life, who we care for, we would assume a proper course of action, including permits and zoning requests, had been made and approved prior to any investment in materials and the commencement of changes obviously happening. During the conversation I noted above, Maddie talked about ideas she had for the garage, and out of caution from the experience had before, I encouraged her to be sure her vision was approved by zoning and to acquire permits before investing a single penny into remodeling. I filled her in on what we had endured years prior. My guidance was intended for her own good, especially financially. What does everything I have shared up until now have to do with Maddie asking to permanently alter the garage to be a home office? Perhaps it seemed harmless, but we would like to know, what will happen should this property be sold again? How will the property be listed? For example, if the overhead garage door, which unmistakably marks it as a garage, is permitted to be removed and replaced with a permanent wall, what is anyone new to the property going to make of this space? This factor, along with amenities still in existence, which the city, from our understanding as those of us who originally submitted the original petition and request, from our understanding originally was to enforce removal of, since it was added in violation, half bath and a kitchen-like area with stove hookup. Truly make for a confusing structural purpose, easily leading to more attempts to use the space in ways we are already assured in the past wouldn't happen. This will likely create yet one more situation for the city to monitor and puts neighbors in an awkward position, with none of us truly wanting to be involved in that. What we are asking for is that the single-family dwelling status our homes are zoned as be upheld now and in the future through decisions made today. Whether you approve or decline Maddie's request, we're just asking at the very least that you carefully set forth expectations or stipulations that will uphold the property's single-family status for today and the future. And we really appreciate your willingness to hear us out. Thank you.
All right, anyone else?
Melanie J. Roll, 308 Portage, North Canton. This property for us this evening is the 336 Portage that we've been speaking of. The Stark County Auditor lists this property as having 4 bedrooms and 3 full bathrooms, and lists 1915 as the year the house was first constructed. In July 2020, when this property was listed for sale, North Canton City Building Department mandated the home be returned to single-family residential, and the garage be restored to a residential vehicle garage, plus install a vehicle access door on that garage. The current owner purchased the property in March 2024. On April 11, 2025, the North Canton Building Department issued 3 zoning violations to the current owner: not securing a permit, renovating the garage into a living space, and non-permitted use of property. On May 6, 2025, the North Canton Building Department issued a notice of administrative warning to the current owner for not responding to the 3 violations that were issued April 11, 2025. If the structure that was constructed as a garage for this property is used as a garage, the variance for covered parking spaces would most likely be moot. I wish to read from the August 5th, 2025 variance request by the current owner. This is the owner's description of the garage space. This structure, in her words, has its own bathroom, kitchen, water lines, and separate electric bill. This description gives me pause, particularly a kitchen and a separate electric bill. What is the owner's intent? I ask that you deny this variance request. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Audrey Bond, 238 Portage Street Northwest. I am new to all of the information tonight, so I would like to share things that we in our property dealt with, adding light to the administration at the time that we purchased the property and what was required of us. So when we purchased our home, it had been a duplex, and we had separate electric and a separate address. We were required by the city and the mortgage company to remove the small kitchen that was upstairs that was part of the apartment at that time before we could close on the home, because it was required to be a single-family home. So we did what was required to make it a single-family home, removing the plumbing, removing the lighting, changing it from a kitchen back into living area that it was supposed to be. The electric has stayed in 2 separate accounts, which is not an issue because there's a billing address involved. We were required to contact the post office and have the second address removed as no longer existent from that location. That was back in 2009, so lots of things have changed since then. And I don't recall the exact details of what was required by the city, the county, the mortgage company, all of that. But having had a home that was a previous rental, multiple family setting, that was what we had to do. We had to knock down the wall. Some of, I think, putting in the garage doors was part of the previous owner's requirements to sell the home, probably a similar situation. We have a weight room in our basement. We've done the work to make a workout area in our basement that is older than this home at the time of being built. So I know there are ways and means to create an office in your home and an exercise area in your home. Maybe not ideal. I'm not crazy about ours. It's not what I would like either, but it follows the requirements of the city. We have a 3-car garage that has electric to it that we could make the same request from, but it's a garage, so that's gonna stay that way until we would decide to do something different. So I only share all of this as part of consideration. I appreciate that she, I haven't met you formally, so hello. I appreciate the work that you're doing to make it nicer and have more curb appeal. We don't want our street to be full of rentals. You know, we're right by an elementary school. We want little kids safe. We want nice, safe areas to live and enjoy and hopefully spend more years here in North Canton. I'm just looking that we find some clarity, you know, not only for her, for us, and for the future of North Canton, so that it continues to grow and be a place that is appealing to people with clear-cut guidelines. So, that's all.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Good evening. My name is Sherry Brocker, and I live at 119 Breuer. Lived there for 35 years. My house was built in 1911. I am not in favor of this. I'm getting flashbacks of a neighbor who is on the other side of Allison Place, which is near my house, came over and said to us one day, "You're gonna see some construction people in your driveway because we're gonna put up bedrooms. We're gonna bedrooms for our kids." Okay, that's fine, that's not a problem. Okay, construction was done, everything looked good, until one day, I started seeing these strange cars in the driveway, and I'm like, that's not their car. And it would be there for a day, and it would leave, and it would come back again, and then another car, a different car would come. I did a little investigating, and I talked to one of my friends who's here tonight. We figured it out. It was an Airbnb. It was not permitted by the city. I wanted to make sure that it was shut down because the traffic was bad on Allison. I cannot get into my driveway from Royer. I have to drive down Allison to get into my driveway. The traffic was terrible. The cars were parked there along the fence. It just wasn't a good thing. So I don't think that having this way it is now is not going to work. I firmly believe that if the opportunity ever arose, she might turn it into an Airbnb. People have tried to do it before. And I have always gotten permits from the city. I put a 6-foot fence up, I got a permit. I got a new air conditioner, I did a permit. I did the right thing. I didn't hide from people or not answer a notice I got into the mail about a permit. I always did the right thing. So therefore, I highly hope that you turn this back into a garage. It was a garage. When you put a kitchen and everything into a garage, to me, it's a little bit more than that. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Probably don't have that.
Okay.
Moffett, I live at 300 Portage. I'm also a new homeowner, only been there for about a year. So my concern is the neighborhood. I don't want rentals coming in. I value the property. I don't want ton of rentals. We don't need changeover. We don't need Airbnb. My concern is the future. I'll probably live in that house until I die. And I understand your concern is with the garage not being functional. I bought my house, great location. I have a 3-car garage. It's just me. So I understand. I have a lawnmower taking up 3-car spots. I think the biggest concern probably should have been the person before you should have been followed through with the garage being changed over to a functional garage, and probably the amenities that aren't typically in a garage should have been removed, and that should have been followed up with the code. I mean, what garage has an oven? You're not cutting wood and then checking on your pizza. You're not cutting wood and then, flipping steaks. So I feel like that should have been followed through maybe with code. Not sure really who would be following up with that before sale goes through, but I understand your concern with the garage door and the amenities getting removed before you leave. But yeah, I don't feel like this should go through because she might not be there her whole life, and who's gonna be the one that follows up to make sure that the wall that gets put up where the garage door is gets taken down, and who doesn't put a family in there next, because they have everything they need. They'll be able to cook dinner, wash dishes, everything. The electricity is already ran out to the garage. They can have their own bills and everything. So my biggest concern is whoever moves in next can do whatever they want. They have everything out, all the amenities they'll need out in that garage. That's my biggest concern is my future in that house and the neighbors.
Okay. Thank you. I have some questions regarding the timeline here. I'm confused about exactly what has happened. So I have some questions for some people with the city and also for the applicant. Based on what was said by some of the neighbors here, was there an order to turn that back into a garage by the city?
There was. Included in the packet tonight is a case summary from the code enforcement case number 20NC-00067. This was from 2020. That case was found to have a number of violations through the main dwelling as well as the detached structure.
Right.
Also known as the garage being considered tonight. The main house had multiple dwelling units in it. The garage was found to have a dwelling, have been converted to a dwelling. Some of the research of that detached structure, it was hard to determine what had been permitted and what had not been permitted. What we did know was the owner at the time, Patricia Jackson, had advised us what she did without a permit, her and her husband.
Well, and then was this turned back into a garage?
It was, yes.
So then why is there now stuff, who turned it back into a non-garage?
So what,
My words.
I'm hearing
I can
some.
help fill in any details too, whatever is
Okay.
helpful.
I'm hearing some confusion in there. When we closed this case, this was reverted back to a garage. A garage door was put on it. All of the living amenities that made it habitable space was removed. We still permit today to have bathrooms in garage. Therefore, we left the bathroom in there. The kitchen was removed at the time. However, there was some cabinetry permitted in there. And again, you can put cabinetry in your garage today.
Okay.
That does not make it a kitchen. There's a number of things that are required to have a legal kitchen. One is a permanent cooking facility, and that does not mean just an outlet. That is the actual, typically it's a cooktop or a range that's
Okay.
permanently installed appliance that would qualify for that permanent cooking facility. So in some cases, it is as simple as removing that appliance, and by law, we have to remove that designation as a kitchen. In this case, it did not look like a kitchen when we closed it. I was involved in part of that closeout inspection and do recall walking through the premises around the time frame of this code case here.
Okay. And then, Mr. Blyler, was anything, did you guys do anything to it since you bought it? Did you add anything, turn it into a kitchen or anything since?
We have, everything that was there is what's there.
Okay, so it's the
I mean,
same.
we spruced up the inside of the building.
Okay, okay.
And there was two owners between you and Patricia Jackson, as I understand.
I have no idea.
I believe there was
There was two, because the contractor bought it first, then sold it.
the investment
The
firm.
contractor is the one that did a lot of the extra spruce, like just, sorry, I'm talking out. They came in and just did a lot of surface prettying up of the place so that they could just sell it. And I believe that they're also the ones that made changes to the garage, to make it look nicer too, so.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Is there a stove currently in this structure?
Two.
There's two stoves.
There was a lot of stuff in there.
There are,
There were two when we bought it.
there were two.
Yes, correct.
Are there two now?
I sold them Facebook Market.
So that,
Yeah,
no,
they've been-
there are
they've been
no,
taken
there are
out.
no stoves in the structure now?
But you can't hook up a stove,
Okay, I'm just asking.
or future people can.
Well, that's, so,
I'm just
and
Yeah, I get it.
trying to understand, it's a little
we've
confusing.
granted variances with conditions in the past. And I think we're allowed to do that under our ordinance, so. But one of the questions I have is, and obviously, it's against the law, it's against the ordinance to have this be anything other than single family. Is there a way to, if we granted a variance, to put a condition on that, this structure would have to be reverted back to a garage if it was sold? Are we allowed to do that, or are we going too far there from a legal standpoint?
Is that correct?
Yeah, Greg, I don't know if you can answer that, or anybody, but.
I can't necessarily answer that because you have the application in front of you. And the application is to grant a variance for the parking. Going beyond the, the four corners of the application, so to speak, and touching the garage and putting restrictions on the garage. I don't know if that would be a permitted requirement.
Okay.
Isn't the fact that it's zoned single family enough of a restriction if it's sold? I mean, the next person that buys it, if they start renting out the garage, wouldn't they be cited? Wouldn't they be?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, but I'm just trying to figure out how we avoid the same problem. Not that this owner is going to do that, but that a future owner could do it. I don't know, maybe I'm trying to find a problem, a solution, searching a problem. I don't know, but I don't want these neighbors to have to go through this again.
Right, I understand that. It just feels like the new owner is being punished based on bad things that happened in the past and maybe what happened in the future, and that's a tough place to be.
Could we put a condition on that, they strip the address and utility off of that residence? I mean, in my home garage, I have a gas line, I can hook up a stove, it's for a furnace. But a lot of people do have stoves in their garage for Italian kitchens for canning.
Does it have its own electric bill?
It does not, that's where you get the
And
address
traditional
stripped.
address is very
Yes.
confusing.
Yeah, now, the stripping of the address, I believe we do not have a mechanism for doing that.
Well, you have to contact the post office.
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
have that.
but you could, in terms of combining utilities, that could be perhaps something that could be done.
That, if I may about that, we have not done that because it requires the electric company to hire a contractor to come out to rewire it and put it back together and put the box back together. So like at the time when we purchased, because we were in a similar situation, the post office deactivated that address. So all it is on record, all my electric bills are in my name. It just, the service address is split because they had the two boxes split. So it can't be in anyone else's name. It's our property, it just has a service location because of how they had broke it apart. But it would be upwards of, the last time I asked, which was several years ago, to have all of that done was over $1,500. I already paid 2 electric bills, so, that has just not worked into our budget to do that.
Yeah.
We knocked out the walls, we took out all the stuff to meet the code for our to make our home a single-family home. That was not required at the time, which I understand the asking, but with the economy and everything else that goes wrong in houses, the bill can't be separated because it's one property with 2 service locations, if that makes sense.
And
So-
Chairman, if I may further on that,
Yes,
in this case, we have a detached structure, so they would, in addition to all that, the current property owner would be required to, well, she has some resources to wire that panel across the way, but because we have 2 detached structures, there would be additional wiring they would have to cause to be done on their own volition in addition to all of what was just described. So this one's a little different and would cause a bit more.
Okay.
Do you ever get mail to that detached structure?
It
With
doesn't
that
have
address?
a mailbox or anything, no.
Okay.
I didn't even know if the address, like, existed. I just knew it was this weird thing of like, on my electric account, I have 2 different things I click on that's similar.
Yeah, the
If
address,
I'm allowed to speak, they did get mail when Patty's parents lived in there. They got mail and the mailman just knew to put it in Patty's box.
yeah,
Like it was that convoluted, so.
Okay.
I mean, the main point is, whether there's an address there or not, it's one parcel.
Yeah.
One
Yeah.
family can live on that you can't have one family in one structure and one in the other.
Yeah.
Under our zoning, there's no way that's allowed. So it doesn't matter whether there's one address or 2 or 1 or 2 electric hookups, one family on that entire parcel. That means you and a spouse, children, if there's anything in addition to that, then yes ma'am.
Has anybody from the city been in that structure garage since the first variance complaints were made?
I have been.
Have you been in the structure?
Yeah, Mr. Hickes, the code enforcement officer, has been there.
And what did you find when you went in the structure?
When I was in there, there was a bathroom, there was a hookup for washer dryer, but there was no washer dryer. There was no kitchen at the time that I was in. Where the garage door was supposed to be, there was a wall in place instead of the garage door, so there's no access to the outside. And then there was cabinets.
So there can be a washer and dryer too, so it'd be even more of a living space.
Yeah, but again, I mean, I guess I can go back to this, I mean, and I know what's happened in the past, and believe me, nobody wants that. I don't live far from all of you, and I don't want that either.
Right,
The rules are the rules are one family,
right.
and if more than one family's living in there, y'all are gonna notice,
And we're gonna be back.
and you're
here
gonna say
next.
something, and
Yeah, I know what it is.
these people are gonna be
It's awkward
hearing
to
from
have to
you.
do that though, we've been next door, we've been through this twice, and can I just reiterate to Maddie, I am not trying to rain on your parade here. She's a go-getter, she literally jacked a huge cement pad up herself and cleaned that yard up, like she has done amazing things. My only concern is for the future, the more this building looks iffy, that there's gonna be problems after Maddie, which I pray she doesn't go anywhere anytime soon. But the more this building is allowed to maintain the living dwelling look to it, that it just creates problems because people are not honest. They don't ask for things and then we as neighbors, I don't wanna rat on people, and I've tried to stay out of it, and I gave her a precautionary, we had a conversation. I don't know what happened, what she pulled, what she didn't as far as permits for zoning. All I know is in the future, we just we're exhausted with the topic. And our street, frankly, Royer, Portage is disgusting with rentals at this point. Even West Maple, our area, we are trying so hard to keep our little area look beautiful because it just
Well,
looks trashy.
And I understand that, and that's a different topic.
It is, I understand
And
that.
that's something else that you have to talk to your elected officials about. You know, our issue here is, are we gonna require them to put in a two-car garage to improve on this building or not?
Well,
That's the
there's
main
already a
issue.
wall up. They don't even have access to outside now, there's already a wall up. Ben just said there was a wall up, they don't even have access to put their car in there if the car
Or
fit
they
through
took
the
the wall
garage.
out,
Well,
right?
hold on, everybody, we gotta talk one at a
Sorry,
time.
sorry.
But, yeah, I mean, that's the thing, so, and, if, and I guess the question I have for the applicant is, all you're trying to do is put a door, or, what are you putting, I don't know exactly what you're putting where that garage door is, a door and a window?
Nothing,
Well,
literally.
it's nothing.
Just
Yeah,
a
where
wall?
the barn door is,
Okay.
literally, I framed in the inside of that little 7-foot opening,
Okay,
placed a drywall holder,
so you've already framed it in?
literally just for that purpose.
Okay,
Didn't realize that this was, she said at the beginning that there's some,
what's the point, why don't you just leave the garage door there? Is there an insulation issue with the garage door, or is it pretty drafty?
Tried it out this winter, if I will speak, you don't even know this, but I ran the electric and everything that's in there, and my bill was almost $400 that month, and I went, I cannot afford that, so the goal was just to insulate it a bit better.
Yeah.
Because I recognize that on one hand, I can use it as is and make it as nice as I want in there, but that's the reasoning, it's just practical functionality.
Well, I guess if there's a less invasive way of insulating by keeping that door there, we wouldn't even have to be here. We wouldn't even need a variance.
Yeah.
This is a difficult one for us because we want to help you because you're the future of this city, and we want to take care of you. But I understand the concerns of the neighbors, and one of the things legally when we're considering a variance is there a less invasive way? Is there a way to do this without needing a variance? Is there a way to insulate that and keep the door there? I know, I'm sure the bill would still be better if you put a wall in. Curb appeal wise, I mean, if there's just a solid wall there, that close to the curb, I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out a better, we have to consider this as a board. Consider, is there a way to do this without needing a variance?
Does this classify as a shed in any way, shape, or form? Could it be changed to the definition of that garage being a shed? Therefore, if it's sold, nobody could live in it or convert it to a living quarters? Because if you, meet the specs of something like that? Would that be a way around?
Especially when it doesn't fit a car.
Right, that's what I'm thinking, because people can put a shed in their backyard and
Right.
you can make it a she shed or do whatever you want there, home office, I mean, I don't, are we just overthinking this? Is it that simple to change on county registration that isn't a garage, it's a shed?
Yeah, I don't know. I think if you do any kind of improvement to this building, whether it's a shed or a garage or whatever, we got a ordinance, we gotta come up with a code on the ordinance without a variance, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I didn't take the pledge, but may I speak?
What's your name?
John Roll, 3808 Portage Street.
Yep.
The issue is the matter of how many garages the city would like to see a single-family plot have. I assume that's why the ordinance was more recent, because there are a lot of one-car garages in the city. Somewhere, they realized that most families have at least 2 cars, and that it was a good idea to make that a requirement. So we have a situation here, there was already an order in place to return this to a garage. Is that still in force? That's my one question I have. So that's hanging out there. If there was an order issued that this had to be returned to be a garage, why hasn't that been enforced? And the second thing is, we've gone now from a situation where this plot has a potential one garage, now it has no garages. So it's going exactly in the opposite way that the people that put the ordinance in for two-car garage wanted to happen. So isn't this going backwards? It's not about whether this is an Airbnb or whether this is a workout room or whatever it is. The issue is the parking. Why aren't we insisting that this be returned to a single-car garage, at least? That's all I want to say.
Yeah, I guess that's a question I have. I mean, if there was an order to make it into a garage, or how do we enforce that now? Or what's going on with that? And I asked that out of ignorance, so I don't know how that works.
And that's kind of why we're here tonight, is this came to us as a complaint. Our code enforcement officer responded to that. That's the first, the city's been advised that we are in conflict of this order. The way the ordinance works is each one of these complaints are separate. So the complaint from 2020, that was addressed, that was closed. So from our understanding, that has continued in compliance. Well, up until just a few months ago, we were advised there were some other violations. Benicus responded, verified that no, there are some violations that exist. He had issued the procedural requirements, the first written notices, the administrative warning, that was issued as part of that. And because of the requirements of the garage, we could not give any kind of permit for the wall being framed into place. So we're here tonight, so the requirements of the parking are alleviated from the current owner on that to proceed with the permitting.
Yeah, to answer your question, like, a variance is a request to change, go outside, give a special exception to somebody for a special circumstance. Variances are usually granted in exceptional circumstances. With the older housing we have, this comes up a lot in our city. So that's why we're here, and that's what we're considering. Yes?
I have a question. So I mentioned I'm single. I have a big house. You have a big house. Is there a reason, and that might be cost and border, I don't know what the rules are, but is there a reason you want to have your home office outside opposed to in one of the 4 bedrooms that you have?
Well, I don't want to get, I know, that's kind of irrelevant. I don't want to get, we've been here a while already. I mean, I understand what you're saying. That goes into somebody's personal choices of their property, and that's really not what we're here for today. So let's, but go ahead.
Okay, and I am not trying to step on anybody's toes when it comes to whoever's job it is to go into a building. So Patty was told that she had to return the building to usage for our garage. Again, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I, as the person next door and all the neighbors that went through the months of what we went through to see this through, I have to be honest, I feel a little let down with this process. People keep saying that it was approved and closed out, but I'm sorry, it's not closed out. If you are approving a building to go back to function as a garage and the door that was put in there doesn't even fit today's cars, to me, it's not closed out. You have the next buyer that goes to drive their car in and they're 6 inches gapped over, that wall is plenty wide, broad enough that a proper garage door fitting today's cars could fit into the garage. So, sorry if I'm out of line with that, but you keep saying the matter was closed out, and it wasn't closed out, because now we have a new owner, 2 owners later, that still can't park a car in the garage, and it may not even be deep enough to park the car because they allowed the step up that was built into the garage where this non-kitchen and non-bathroom is, that took some of the depth out of the garage. So no, I don't feel the matter was closed out. We're dancing around the fact that I personally believe that some ball was dropped with this. And I understand some garages have kitchens and a garage and a bathroom or whatever. If the garage has room, extra room for amenities, have at it. But if you can't fit a car, a single car in that garage because of the amenities partly the reason, it's not closed out. I don't think it was dealt right. And now we have this to deal with. And again, what is Maddie to think of that? Like, what else is she to do with it? Can't fit your car in it, so she's gonna make other plans. Like, that's what I'm saying. This whole problem, I just feel like things have been very poorly followed up with and very poorly dealt with, and it's not a closed matter. It's still it feels very much open.
At this point, is there something happening that's upsetting, or is she?
Not with Maddie, no,
Okay.
and like I've said time and time
So
again,
our concerns are basically what might happen in the future.
if this would have been a B&B, after she originally told me, yes, I will admit I had problems with that. I don't want a stream of strangers coming. I partially got rid of my personal pool.
But that's not happening now.
That's not happening now. I didn't know if it was gonna be turned into a rental. The issue at this point is future owners, what are they to make of this building the way this rigmarole has left it? I hope I'm not being disrespectful.
No, I understand your concerns, I understand everybody's concerns, and I'm very sympathetic to the applicant and what she's trying to do, and like I said, I mean, we need people like her to move into the city and improve these houses, especially the older ones. You know, I personally, and I'm just speaking for me, not for the board, I'm concerned, I just wonder if there's a better way to do this where a variance wouldn't be necessary, where there's a better way to insulate and keep the door there. You know, I don't know, I'm not a contractor. I just wonder if there's there's a way to do this without needing a variance. And I think the way to do it is to insulate the inside of it. So that makes me wonder makes me leaning against granting it myself. And I gotta be honest, this is a tough decision for me. I'm struggling with this one, but the city, does anybody from the city have anything else to say?
It's just, I mean, I agree. I think it's tough because you don't want to punish somebody that's trying to improve the property for something that's going to be sold in the future. That's not fair. And I don't know if that's even your job to convey that. Like, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. It's very difficult. But I kind of think this falls into the future if we're going to look at something like this. What about the sheds that are out there that is the trend right now? That everybody is turning into all these different little hobby things in their yard. I mean, are we gonna have to, pave a driveway to their yards now? For making personal uses out of it or whatever? I mean, to me, it potentially could open a can of worms.
I think our ordinance would require, I think we have to look at our ordinance for that, but that, right now, our ordinance kind of is not flexible that way.
Right. Or, I mean, some of the older properties that, if required a 2-car garage, that they don't technically have the land to put it there by ordinance.
Yeah.
So I mean, it is a really slippery slip, in my opinion.
I would say I agree with everything you said. It's difficult. Like Maddie is someone this is the next generation. We want young homeowners to come in, make a commitment, purchase a property, improve that property. I hear what you're saying too. I mean, the city was lax. It was. And I could say we are a different staff today. And I also feel for all the rentals. That's why we created the rental registration program. When people said we shouldn't have done that, but we created that so that we could get in, we could identify what are rentals, what are, owner occupied, and make sure that we're inspecting them and we have a registry of them. But I can say that this is a better staff now with the city, and what happened back then would never happen again. But, I know you're concerned. I mean, the staff may not always be here, and you're looking at the future, and Maddie may not always own it. So it's a difficult one.
And it's also not fair to all you from what you've been through too. So I mean, it is very difficult.
When I joined the city, it was back in 2017 with Patrick DiOrio, when we did find out about that. We were like, what is going on there? I would heard it was a family member that was living in it, and then they were renting it,
It was like a good
how many,
seven.
how much rent were they trying to get out of one property? Yeah.
Is there anything in the code or ordinance that says that that garage door has to open, be functional? Could you just build the wall inside the garage door?
That's what I wondered.
That's
kind of what I was
suggesting.
That false wall.
And stipulate that if you removed when you move out.
Yeah, I don't know, like, I'm not a contractor, but a lot of the things we're talking about, the law does not, we're not allowed to look at as a board, but one of the things we have to look at is there a better way to do this without needing a variance? And that is kind of that's why I've been, asking about that, because I think there might be a better way here, or another way, not a better way, but another way. Because that's what the law says, we just have to look at another way, that where a variance is not necessary. Anyone else from the board have anything?
No.
Yes, sir, and we're gonna wrap this up, I think, pretty soon, but go ahead.
Okay, just one last comment. So what the request here is, not only do they not have to put in a two-car garage, but it's okay to eliminate a garage. That's what, it doesn't matter about this garage door and kitchen and all that. You're eliminating a garage and okaying not having to replace it with anything covered. So it seems to me that it's pretty obvious. Why not grant the variance with the condition that the garage be turned back into a garage?
Because they already talked about that, saying that was overstepping.
So at least there'll be a garage. And instead of,
We're here on whether to grant a variance on whether they don't have to build a two-car garage. If we deny the variance, the property stays as is, and they can't improve the outside of the property. But, the variance would, and correct me if I'm wrong, a variance would not be necessary to go on the inside and insulate that better, and do whatever they need to, so.
I see what you mean.
As far as whether there's the code's being enforced or not, that's not our job here. That comes later, so that'll be dealt with between the applicant and the city later on.
To me, it's a matter of how many garages do you want a single-family property to have? 0 or 2? That's the way I see it.
I know we all probably are talking in circles and our brains hurt now, and Jolene,
I'm
bye,
so
you're taking
sorry
it
I
off.
have to.
Yeah.
I will say, and then I'm done too, because I just can't any longer, and thank you all for being here, and I'm sorry, because I spent your night, I did not know this was all gonna be a thing.
Yeah.
Is that, again, it's very hard to know based on the property, it sounds like there's confusion in records, and who really knows? We have the reports from the neighbors, and like, this whole idea of, well, we'll make it back into a garage, part of me was like, when was it turned into a garage? Like my understanding of the structure was that it was its own.
After Patty.
And my home didn't even have the covered parking to begin with, so I guess it's all just, whatever.
Yeah, again, if, our job is to approve or deny a variance request here tonight. As far as the code enforcement and all that, that would come later. The two-car garage thing, that's the law now. Obviously, when this house was built, most people didn't even have cars, and if they did, they had one. And that's why these older houses have these little garages that could fit little cars in them. But that's irrelevant also. So, anything else from anybody?
I almost feel like how no matter what we say, whether we grant this or not, this has no impact upon what the resident may want to do in terms of insulating the inside of the structure. I mean, it's almost as if denying it and accepting it are the same actual decision.
If we deny it.
Because I mean, Mr. Roll keeps saying, and he's right, that the issue before this board is to grant the variance away from a two-car covered structure. And yet all the conversation for the most part has been about something other than that. I almost feel like the way this is all gone, that it doesn't even matter what we say, because it doesn't have an impact upon. Yeah, please.
Can I interject? Because I think everybody has, that's correct, and that's been my understanding as well. But I do want to ask a question. With a variance, right, we're determining whether to grant or deny, and I agree with that, but does the ZBA go into private deliberations to make that determination? Because you're right, you're supposed to adopt or grant or deny, and based upon your decision to grant or your decision to grant or deny is based upon findings of fact. Those findings of fact can be determined or not determined in what's known as private deliberations. So think just like a jury. Again, this is having never been working with you guys before. Does the ZBA go into private deliberations for these? Have you ever done that?
We've never done that. We might discuss in open we might deliberate in the open, which is what I think we're doing right now, but we do not go into private deliberations, and then we call for a vote.
Okay, you have that, you have that option to privately deliberate if you so choose. But I'm at your mercy. If you'd like any type of legal evaluation or legal guidance or legal analysis, I can assist you, whether that's now or whether that's in private deliberations. So.
Well, yeah, I'd like to hear your take on this for sure. And if you have anything now.
From everything that I've heard, all the testimony that I've heard, this home was constructed before the 2013 ordinance. So this is a pretty obvious statement. They would be grandfathered into that parking. So the applicant's initial request is, I'm seeking a variance for the required number of covered parking spaces. That would be grandfathered in. It seems like maybe, and this is for the applicant to decide, it seems like what the applicant wanted is more or less a modified application to have a variance that this quote garage is or qualifies for, or grant a variance that garage can be used as a home office. Is that, and I'm asking the applicant, is that something that you wanted to modify your application for?
He wants to know, is your variance really to turn this building into an office? Turn a garage into an office?
Yeah, I guess it.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember how we worded it too. The long and short of it with the variance, so it was grandfathered in as one covered parking space, and current modification would require two under the current zoning, I believe. So we're grandfathered in at one, and our point was that in reality, we don't have one. It was funny that you used the word shed earlier, because my description was kind of a glorified shed.
What the attorneys, the legal law director is asking is, do you want to modify your variance to turn this into a home office from a garage?
I think he's trying to say that you asked for the wrong variance. Instead of asking for a variance from 2 parking spaces, he's asking if you want to do a variance to turn this garage into an office.
Right, but I think they're intertwined, right? Because if you do a new construction, then the parking thing becomes an issue. So it's kind of an intertwined request.
Yeah. I don't know if that answers your question, Greg, but it sounds like they're asking for both. They need to ask for both.
No, the request, the variance application says, I'm seeking a variance for the required number of parking spaces. Their home, their single family home, is grandfathered into that, so they would not need a variance for that. But additionally, within the application, they make mention of a home office.
Right.
So are they saying that the home office?
Yes, I guess that makes sense, because we know we're grandfathered in with the single car garage, but our point is it's not a garage because it can't house a car. So that would be a part of it, yes. If we turned it in to a home office, then we would need the variance on the required covered parking.
No, that would not. Sense. No, so whether the garage exists or not, whether it's 1 car garage or doesn't even exist, you are grandfathered into the requirement to have 2 covered parking spaces because your home was built prior to September 22nd, 2023, when that ordinance went into effect. So you're free of that. So if your application had only said that one sentence, we would have turned you away and said, well, you don't even need a variance because you're not you're grandfathered in. But because of the additional information within your variance, and the testimony that was presented, it's not about a parking space of that home. Now you're basically asking, can I have a variance to operate an office space, correct? In that structure.
Yes, I think that would be correct.
Okay, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be pulling teeth. It's difficult being remote and not seeing everybody's interactions and their mannerisms and so it's difficult. So I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be pull a teeth here. I just wanted to be clear. Okay, if that is the case and they're asking for a variance to have that what used to be a garage to have that as an office space. Do you want my legal recommendation related to that request?
Yeah, I'd like to hear it.
So a home office can only be in a dwelling. That structure, I'm just going to call it garage because it's the simplest way that everybody's kind of referred to it as. That garage can, by definition of the zoning, by definition of the code, cannot be a dwelling because it's zoned, I don't know if it's zoned R50 or R70, but it's only single family. So any home office or home occupation on that parcel can only be within the actual home, the single family home. So if they're asking for a variance to operate a home office out of what used to be the garage, I would recommend denying that because that would not be within the dwelling. The garage is not a dwelling.
Okay. All right, thank you. Anything else? Anybody from the board?
Which, if I may?
Yeah.
He could not see these pictures, right? What was up there of the garage? So the term garage is really loose. And that you assume. So that's really what it all boils down to. The garage is not really a garage. It's not deep enough at the ground level to pull a car into. It doesn't fit a car. So that's where the variance went, and I guess what we were of the belief we were trying to do was if we enclose that door to make use of that garage space, if you will, then the parking variance would come in because really we're taking away the quote-unquote covered garage space, but it's not a covered garage space because you can't fit a car. Does that make more sense? I think the pictures that they had on the monitors would have helped you maybe see that a little better.
No, I appreciate that. Thanks for taking the time to clarify. I have some pictures of the property, and as crude as this sounds, I was on Google Maps, and I did see that there was a Google Map screen view or street view from August of 24. So I have a very good understanding of the property. But at the end of the day, the only way that you can operate a home office would be in the home, on the first floor, second floor, basement, whatever that may be. It would have to be in the actual single family residence. And that's my so as a question of law, I would say you have to deny the variance. Now, the board could, in theory, disregard that and could grant a variance to operate the home office. And again, I'm kind of you're free to, a variance is a request. Let me break the law. Let me break the zoning code. But I would advise against that, based upon the plain language of the zoning code.
Yeah, I guess I'm just, that's another reason that I just think there's a better way to do all of this. To put a home office somewhere inside the structure, there might be a way to do that. I haven't heard about why that isn't possible. And so, it's just me speaking. I don't know about the other board members. I'm inclined to deny that the applicant can come back with something else later, or could work something else out with the city. But that's kind of where I'm heading with this. Anybody else have anything to say, or?
I guess I feel like we're drifting so far from what Ms. Bleyer's application is, but what is the definition of a home office? And I don't mean to be like obtuse, but like,
It's a workspace,
Well,
it's
you-
not a posted.
sure, no, but there's a legal definition. Will you receive clients in there, or is this just some place where you,
I work remotely.
okay?
Yeah.
I don't wanna give the neighbors PTSD, but if you literally just walked out there with your laptop and just started working. I know, people did that before, I know, I'm not suggesting she should do that. But like, if not for this request, they wouldn't have gotten the letters and,
I mean, they probably say, I take my little phone calls when I'm doing yard work, like,
yeah.
part of me is like,
Okay.
how did I even do this? Like, I thought I was kind of following
Yeah.
the steps, but I'm not sure.
All right, well, time, been here a while, I'll entertain a motion one way or the other.
Put in a motion to deny.
All right, I will second that. Go ahead and call the roll.
Ms. Clevenger,
Why do I have to?
The mo-
Because I am conflicted.
Well, go ahead. I will vote to deny. I vote to deny the variance. Mr. Zollinger for the record, so go ahead, so.
Mr. Stalker,
I'm gonna vote to deny.
Mr. McGinnis,
No.
Ms. Clevenger,
I guess no.
All right, so the variance application is denied. I hope, though, that something can be worked out here. This is probably the toughest decision I've ever had as a board member. So I'm sorry that we could not grant it, but I hope that everybody can work this out in some other way. I think there's another way to do this personally. With that said, any other business to come before the board? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
And that, just to be clear, sorry, because I'm sorry, everyone. I wanted to just verify that motion to deny was based on the modified application for a home office, correct?
How do you think I'm not? I thought you were denying.
We're denying the request for a variance for a home office and also or to not have to do a two-car garage.
Well, they are grandfathered into that two-car garage.
Okay,
So just so the applicant has some understanding of what they can and can't do. I would, I know we voted and it was denied and everything, but I tried to chime in, and the motion was to deny the modified application, which included a home office. You are able to park your cars in that parkway or parking space area.
yeah, I don't think anybody's saying otherwise with that.
Okay, sorry, Ted, I wanted to clarify. Okay.
Yep.
So at this point in time, she has to leave everything the way it is right now to be in compliance.
She can't touch the home office.
That's not for, we denied the variance, so whatever, that's something you're gonna have to work out with the city.
Oh,
whatever
okay, I
can
thought
or
he was saying.
cannot be done, yeah, so, with regard to that building. So,
Chairman, if I may, I've got a question. Greg, are you saying in your legal analysis here that if the current owner so chooses, they can convert this single car garage into, say, her personal fitness studio?
That's a whole nother question. I'm not.
Is it? Okay. All right.
I'm not
Then
prepared
I
to
heard you
advise
correct.
that. I was just trying to clarify the motion so that we knew what we denied, because that's why I had asked the applicant, are you also seeking the home office? So I wanted clarity that in that regard. And I also wanted to provide clarity to the applicant that, they are able to, they don't have to comply with the two parking. They're grandfathered in.
okay.
Meaning they, I know they're, there was some discussion about, do they have to tomorrow go build a 2-car garage? And I know that sounds absurd, but no, they would not have to. They are they are grandfathered
No,
in.
that was,
I know.
that was never one of the questions. The commentary was that in reality, we have a 0-car garage. Because a car can't fit in it, so it's kind of a glorified shed. We were trying to figure out what we could do there. That's the home office aspect.
Looks like a garage, it must be a garage, right?
All right, anyway, do I have a motion to adjourn? Because we have done what all we can do tonight. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
A motion to adjourn.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we're adjourned.